my name is Leilani, and in this video, I'm gonna share with you the best and the worst homeschool read-alouds that we did this year. Now, I'm gonna be sharing with you preschool all the way up to middle school, so make sure you get out that sheet of paper and write out a list of the books that you are going to include in your next year homeschool read-aloud collection. And also, this is cool, because it is a collaboration with Katie over at Life in the Mundane. There is a playlist in the comment section down, actually description box below. Check it out. I think there's like 5 or 6 other ladies sharing their best and worst. So you can get a nice good running list, like bucket to do list of things that you want to read with your family, because that is so much fun. We love reading in our family, and I know you do too, or you wouldn't have clicked on this video. Let me just get started right away with my favorite read aloud that we did this year, but you do want to wait till the end because I'm going to share another favorite read aloud. The Hobbit. The Hobbit was by far my favorite read aloud that we did this year as a family. Well, besides the Wingfeather Saga, which you're gonna hear about if you watch those other videos. It is one of my favorite read alouds, but I am gonna talk about The Hobbit because it's like one of, the second or third most read books in the world, like second to the Bible. Anyway, The Hobbit is nothing like the movie. It is its own, I mean, it's similar, obviously, but it's a lot more slow pace. It's action-packed, but it's not as intense. There's no orcs in The Hobbit. J.R.R. Tolkien was Catholic, and he does have some Christian themes running through, one of which being nothing happens by chance. There is always something in the back, God, causing things to happen for the good, or just really for the good. It helps Bilbo along his journey. Also, it teaches integrity, it teaches perseverance, and it also discusses greed and how poisonous greed, and I also like to think a little bit about money too, like that's kind of greedy, right? It's just a wonderful, wonderful book. We fell in love with Bilbo. We fell in love with all the dwarfs. My kids know all the dwarfs by name. They have their favorite dwarf. It's not like Snow White at all, right? Which leads me to the next book that we read, which was Fellowship of the Rings. Now, I didn't want to read this because right now I do have a 5th grader and a 3rd grader and a 1st grader and a preschooler, okay? Hobbit, I can handle with that 5th and 3rd grade level, but I was a little bit nervous about doing Fellowship of the Rings, but they talked me into it. They begged me. So we did. We did it actually on audio, so I wasn't reading it. It was this other guy reading it, which he was really, really good. You can find it on YouTube. It's really good. Talk about wanting to absorb yourself in that world. It makes me understand why people get kind of obsessed with The Lord of the Rings, because the book slows you down. It's very slow pace. In the movie, by the way, watching the movie is like reading the book and fast forward. Plus, in the book, you get this other character, Tom Bombadil. I think that's how you say his name. I can never say it right, but cool character. You could talk about him for like 3 hours to try to figure out who the heck he is, or what the heck he is, or why the heck is he in the book. But he's a really cool character. But what's cool about the Fellowship of the Rings is that it's almost like in real time. You're walking with Frodo and Sam and Pippin and Merry and Gandalf and everybody else in the 9 characters, and you're moving slowly. You're talking about the sun setting, you're talking about the textures around them, the sounds, the smells, just every little detail he mentions. It's almost like you're right there in the journey. Now, I would probably recommend Fellowship of the Rings more for middle school, but make sure you prepare yourself to know that it is slow pace. It does have action, but it's slow pace, and be prepared to soak yourself into that Middle Earth world. It's like a little vacation in a book. Vacation in a book. I'm ready to go to New Zealand, guys. If you live in New Zealand, can I come stay? That's actually one of the places I want to go visit before I die. It's on my bucket list. I just hope I don't get too old to go visit Hobbiton. It's Hobbiton. Okay, book number 3. We read Stuart Little. Now, this is a story about a mouse going on an adventure because he can't find his best friend, the bird, which has a name that I don't know how to say. The point is that I didn't like this book. Okay, I know some of you may like Stuart Little, but let's be honest. This book feels a little bit scattered and a little bit rushed. Like I was having a hard time I just was having a hard time. Instead, if you're gonna delve into that author, I would read Charlotte's Web, which is like phenomenal. We're gonna read it again this year for my daughter. It's a phenomenal book. Indian in the Cupboard. Now, I've heard some things about this book being racist. That's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother channel, because I don't want to go there. But this book was really good, okay? The Indian is amazing. The cowboy is amazing. My sons loved it. In fact, my sons loved it so much that they went ahead and they, wanted to read the next book. Now, the next book wasn't so good because they kind of quit there. But the first one, really, really good. I mean, it teaches responsibility, teaches compassion, it teaches perseverance, it teaches creativity and imagination, and just, of course, it reminds me a lot of Toy Story, which I'm sure there's no facts behind this, but I would assume that maybe the Indian in the Cupboard played a little bit of a role into the making of Toy Story. Just a thought. Let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong. I'm going to get into some preschool and early elementary school books, and one of them is called Mix It Up. I love books that are hands-on. I love books that just get all the senses and it's basically kinesthetic. It's a kinesthetic book, right? It's all these different colors, and through the book you're poking at things, you're touching things, you're moving color, you're mixing colors, slapping the pages together, that kind of stuff. And it teaches you about different colors, how to mix different colors, what blue and yellow make, what red and blue make, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's really cool. Very fun book. And if you do like this book, there's another book called Don't Push the Button. This one, once again, is very interactive. Of course, you say don't touch the button. It says don't touch the button, and then it's like, oh, you know what, just go ahead and do it. So there's no battle between whether or not. They just tell you to push the button, and then they walk you through some instructions. It's just cute. Super cute. And apparently there is a series of the Don't Touch the Button books. There's a Christmas version, Easter version, a Good Night version. We just had the original version. It was really awesome. Of course, all these books that I mentioned, I'm gonna stick down in the description box below if you wanna check them out. Check them out of your library. A lot of these libraries do have them, but sometimes like the Lord of the Rings, you might just wanna buy those because those are really good. Same with Narnia, I read that last year. Those are really good too. Have to mention those. Of course, if you do watch other videos in the playlist, they're gonna mention The Wild Robot. You wanna know more about that, listen to them. Another fun book, which is for everybody in the family, I think. The Book with No Pictures. Have you heard of this book? It's by the guy who did The Office, which is officially like the best television show, aside from Seinfeld. Well, no, they're tied. Seinfeld, The Office, tied, my opinion. And it is a book with no pictures, but it does make you make a bunch of silly sounds. You just laugh through the whole book. It's a family book. You sit and you read it as a family, you laugh. It's a good book. Check it out. I mean, all I have to say is it was written by BJ Novak from The Office, and it's sold. Let's talk about The Secret Garden. That's a classic, right? Everybody loves The Secret Garden. It's about a girl who's living with her parents. Her parents feel ill, and they die. That's just the beginning. It's the beginning. I'm not spoiling anything. The point is she has to go live with her uncle, and he's very, very rich, and she's got all these places to explore, including a secret garden. The thing is with this book, it was beautiful. It talks about nature, how spoiled this girl was and how she transforms and transforming children. It's just good, wholehearted, classic feeling to it, except there are some not so biblical, spiritual themes that run through it that kind of, for me, it kind of killed it. If it wasn't for that, I would have loved the book. But because of that, it killed it for me. So I have to give The Secret Garden a thumbs down. Sorry, guys. Now, instead of The Secret Garden, what I would suggest is the Pinto Wicks, which is actually what we're reading right now. So I don't have much of a review for you guys, except so far, so good. We love it. It's about 4 sisters going and living on a cabin, and there's a mansion, and her dad's a botanist, and, the owner of the mansion has a son, and there's like, I don't know. It might be good, might be not. But I heard it's really good, especially for girls. I heard one of my friends, her boys hated it, so, there's that. Now, another book that we did was not me reading aloud, it was a friend of ours who actually wrote the book. So it's called Lazy Daisy, super cute book about his dog, not gonna give it away, but it's one that you should definitely check out, definitely amazing for middle schoolers. elementary schoolers, and definitely preschoolers, because it's just fun. You can actually have the middle schooler read it to the preschooler, and especially if you love dogs, knowing that it is a real dog, and I have a video with the real dog in it. You could totally check it out. It's right up there. I want to talk about another book called The Frog Kisser. Now, my sister-in-law suggested this book to me. She said it was really, really good. We brought it out. We actually listened to it on audio. We made it to chapter, I think, 2. And then there was just too much magic in it for us. Now, I know Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, those have magic in it, but The Frog Kisser just felt like it was a little, there's like a line, and it just crossed over that line. Basically, there's a princess. She's forced to live with her evil stepfather, and he has this thing where he changes creatures into animals, and not so very nice, right? My kids were the ones that said, Mom, this is just too much. Can we listen to a different book? So because of that, I know it's probably really good as you get going, but because of that, we didn't make it halfway through. We made 2 chapters through. Now this book I loved, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Gracelyn. It's about a girl whose family is poor. And she wants to see her family gain some fortune. So they're not poor anymore, right? So she decides that she's going to leave and travel to go find the old man of the moon, because apparently he's supposed to give her some fortune. This book has a lot of Asian cultures, a lot of Asian themes. It's very different than what my boys are used to reading. They love fantasy, okay? Don't get me wrong, my kids are they love fantasy. This is fantasy and adventure, but it's got that whole Asian culture behind it. There is a sequel, and I'm hoping that maybe we'll get to it this year with all the list that I'm compiling, thanks to my friends. Description box below. Just click on it, it's okay. I did, they're really good. Another early elementary book series, the Beatrix Potter books. All right, so my daughter is really into animals. She's really into stories, and so I decided to go ahead and do the Beatrix Potter series with her. We got the whole collection. Who doesn't love the story of Peter Rabbit? And see, the thing is, Peter Rabbit is not Mr. Sweet, little nice guy that you want to, be. No, this is what I love about these books, is that it's about reality, it's about discipline and consequences, and it's about learning from other people's mistakes. And they're animals, so it's cute when they do it. I don't know, it's just animals and they're cute, and you can learn from them. But then again, like, who doesn't love these pictures? Just really good classical literature. And of course, we're planning a little, Peter Rabbit, Beatrix Potter tea party together. Just something super sweet that me and her, and you know what, Naomi's getting involved with this because she is right there. She loves books already. And whenever I'm sitting and reading with the kids, she is involved. So she will be having that little tea party with us. This book is called The Squire and the Scroll. There is also a female version of it. It teaches integrity and character. I believe it does definitely have a biblical themes running throughout this book. Character building. They do have words. Most books have words. It's not like, 1 or 2 sentences. It's pretty wordsy, but it has pictures. This is one of those books that you read to your elementary school kids, and even middle school kids, because it does have good morals that go along with it. Like I said, study guide that goes along with it. These were excellent. Lots of discussion with these books. This is a middle school book, The Bridge to Terabithia. We read that book together. I hate that book. I hate everything about that book. Maybe not everything. I do like the imagination world, but to be quite honest, my kids could not relate to any of the characters. And I mean, that's because you got a boy whose father is emotionally, possibly physically abusive. There's a little bit of debate there. And you got a girl that moved in and she's a little rough around the edges, and they're in public school. So my kids are having a hard time relating with these characters to begin with. But the ending I can't give it to you if you haven't read it. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to say this. You will hate it, and they draw it out forever. It's just, and anyone I talk to who's read that book, just they're mad at that book. It's one of those books that they make you read when you're in school, and you hate the teacher for making you read that book, and you just, it's like that kind of book. You just hate it for the rest of your life. So no offense to the author. I get that some people, it works for some people. I'm sure some people really need this book for healing. Maybe the author themselves needed it for healing, and it won awards. It won a lot of awards, and it's a movie. So there is some good behind it. We just don't like it. This is my all-time favorite. Bagels from Benny. You probably never heard of it, but it's so good. This book is filled with some spiritual significance. It is Jewish, but the concept of God in this book, a Christian can relate to. Anyone who's Messianic Jewish can relate to you. You do need to know what the Torah is. This is the Ark, and at Jewish synagogues, they put the Torah inside the Ark. It's not a means for worshiping the Ark or worshiping the Torah or anything like that. It's just a place to house the Torah. So that during service, when they want to do a Torah reading, they pull out from the Ark. You pull it out, you put it on the table, unroll it, read it. It's a very old document. You want to keep it preserved. You want to take care of it. You want to respect it. It's that kind of thing. And most synagogues do have one of these arks inside. We do have an ark at our congregation. We house the big Torah. We have another Torah inside of there. But the point is that is a place where the Torah is held. So in this story, Benny makes bagels with his grandfather, and he asks his grandfather one day, where do these bagels come from? Well, his grandfather's wheat, they make them in the shop with the heat. Okay, so basically they come from God, is what Benny figures out in such a childlike, very relatable manner. So Benny says, thank you, God, for these bagels. And now he wants to figure out how he can thank God. Now, Benny, first of all, before I go on, this is the last book I mentioned, and I'm giving you a spoiler alert warning. So if your kids are in the room and you think you want to buy this book, make them leave or pause and come back later. Here's what happens, okay? This is really cool. So Benny decides to take some leftover bagels to the synagogue because he wants to find out a way that he can thank God. And he decides that he needs to have God try one. So he comes up to the Torah thinking God's in the Torah, which we all know God is not inside the Torah or inside the ark, the physical ark. But he thinks, hey God, I'm gonna leave them here for you inside the ark. Maybe you'll get a chance to try one. I know you made them, but you haven't tried my grandfather's bagels. But they keep disappearing. And he keeps bringing the bagels, and they keep disappearing. So it's like this little mystery. And here's the spoiler word. So I'm gonna tell you why they keep disappearing in a second, because this is where it kind of ties everything in. So just spoiler. Finds out there's a homeless man getting the bagels. So now we're teaching compassion. We're teaching about sharing. We're teaching that there's others that are less fortunate than them. And we're teaching that God provides for everyone. Bagels for Benny. This is the book right here. This is my second copy. We have read this book so many times. It's so beautiful. It actually, not joking, brought tears to my eyes. So thank you guys for joining us. If you have not subscribed to our channel yet, I would really love it if you do so. This is our journey. We have 4 kids. I am a mom who has a special needs daughter. She has Down syndrome, and I am a former public and private school teacher as well as an evaluator for homeschoolers in the state of Florida. So I have a little bit of that coming in there. However, this is still a journey, and I'm still learning so much, and I want to take you on this journey. That's what this channel is about. I want your feedback, I want your criticism, I want your congratulations, I want all of that stuff because I want to connect with you, the viewer. And if you have a YouTube channel, I want to connect with you too. So let me know in the comments below. I love you guys, and I hope to see you guys in our next video. Double kisses, bye. You get 2 this time. Bye.